Matt here, and on today's campground tour, I'm going to be showing you around the beautiful Killbear Provincial Park near Parry Sound, Ontario. Here I am on the coast of Lake Huron in Georgian Bay, and I'm at Killbear Provincial Park. This is our first time at this park, but I'm definitely sure it's not going to be the last. This is one of the best parks that we've been to, also one of the largest. I'm going to show you around a portion of Killbear today, but because of the size, you're not going to get to see it all. You're going to have to come and check it out for yourself. And as you can see behind me, this is Georgian Bay. Nice big beautiful bay in the Great Lakes. And there's a beautiful long beach that runs along most of the campground. Again, as I mentioned earlier, this is just a small section of the campground. Today we're looking at the Kilcorsi loop in this campground, but it actually contains about 10 different camping loops. There's probably somewhere in the 500 plus campsites throughout this campground, but they all are fairly a distance from each other. So if you're coming here with a group of people, you probably want to get yourselves in the same loop, or else you're going to be driving or biking to go and visit your friends or family. It's currently the end of June, and a lot of people say that it can be quite difficult to get into provincial parks in Ontario unless you book far in advance. We actually booked this one at the last minute, and sometimes that's the best way to go. If you're seeing that these parks are fully booked, get yourself on the cancellation list. With any luck, you can get in at the last minute. We were able to book this a few days in advance. Although it's been rainy most of the time that we've been here, we've still had a great time, and there's a lot of stuff to see right in the campground itself. Because it's so large, I feel like we could still be here for another week and we probably wouldn't see it all. We did see some really cool hiking trails and lookout points, which I'll show you in the video here. And the campsites themselves are awesome. Most of the campsites are fairly large. They're all pretty private, and many of the campsites here give you views of this lake. So that's pretty awesome. So I'm going to be starting by showing you a campsite that has some of these beautiful lake views. And all I've had to do is cross the road from the beach, which is directly behind me, and I'm now at the campsite. So here's an example of one of the campsites. Interesting aspect about this campground, a lot of the campsites have 2 picnic tables. Still not quite sure why, but they are all fairly large campsites, and everyone that we've seen here has had typically at least a tent and a trailer on the site, in some cases multiple tents. But you can see straight across, you're seeing water views. In this case, you're also seeing some water views right on your campsite. It has rained tremendously for the past couple days. So you're going to see on the tour today, you're going to see a lot of puddles, and it's still a little bit gloomy out, but trust me, it's a beautiful park. I'm doing part of today's tour on my bike. This is how big this park is. If you've watched some of my previous campground tours, I usually do these walking, but this will give you a better sense for what the park looks like overall. We can cover a little bit more ground this way. So, what to expect with your campsites? Well, these are generally pretty private campsites. There are a lot of trees and foliage, so it really doesn't matter which campsite you end up booking. They're all pretty good. Now, of course, the ones that are on the waterfront are the absolute best. Those are prime campsites and a little bit more difficult to get. But overall, you're going to be happy either way. Like with most provincial parks, you really do need to respect the lot size. And when you're booking in the online reservation system, they'll tell you whether a campsite accommodates trailers up to 18 feet or up to 25 feet or up to 32 feet. Trust it when they say that a campsite only accommodates up to 18 feet. Usually that's the case, so you don't want to get yourself into a bind where you get here and your trailer doesn't fit onto the lot. Another advantage of having a small trailer. Of course, since we're at a provincial park, all of these lots are either dirt or gravel. Don't expect to see any cement pads anywhere. And most of the roads that run throughout the park are also gravel. It is a little wet, but here's a look at our campsite. Again, 2 picnic tables, a fire pit, nice large area. Lots of puddles, unfortunately, today. But we're able to face most of our windows looking at the lake. So we've been pretty happy with this. When you're at this campground, you can expect to see mostly maple trees. And that creates a pretty beautiful canopy on top of all of the campsites. It also adds some nice shade when you are here on a sunny day. The lots here do not have water or sewer hookups. So when you do enter the park, you're gonna wanna fill your trailer at the filling station. There are some water spigots located throughout the park if you need to fill up a water jug. However, when we were here, there is a boil water advisory on all the water throughout the park. It tells you to boil it for 1 minute before using. So we follow those instructions, but also keep that in mind. There may still be a boil water advisory when you come. That means you may either want to have a Berkey filter or bring your own water from home. About half the campsites throughout the park have electricity, and you'll be able to see that when you're reserving online. But keep in mind, like at most Ontario provincial parks, the outlet is usually quite a distance away from your campsite. So keep that in mind, and if you need to bring a longer cord with you, make sure you do that. Here's another example of a campsite for your reference. This is one that does not have power. A good size though. Let's do a little loop around this campsite. They all do have fire pits as well. But like I said, pretty private. This probably goes without saying, but any of you watching who are used to visiting state parks in the US might be wondering about this. There is no cable TV throughout the park, and there is no Wi-Fi throughout the park. However, at the Discovery Center, there is free Wi-Fi. So if you really need to check your email or do something like that, you can go to the Discovery Center. There's a nice little seating area in there and you can use their Wi-Fi. There are, of course, shower facilities located throughout the park. This is an example of one of the larger comfort stations, so it includes showers, laundry facilities, and washrooms. But these are spaced quite a distance apart. So more typically throughout the park, you'll just see smaller washroom facilities that don't have shower or laundry. If you are coming to take a shower, you should expect to be walking a little bit further or even biking. All of the washroom facilities, though, that we checked out throughout the park are quite clean and quite modern as well. One question that I'm hearing people ask more and more about campgrounds is whether or not they have cell phone signal. And if you're coming to a campground in Ontario, it is a valid question. Not all of them will have a cell phone signal. I actually asked myself that same question when we were booking here because I was considering working out here for a few days. And without a cell phone signal, that wouldn't work very well. This one I can confirm throughout all of the areas of the park that we've been through do have a good cell phone signal, despite some of the reports that I read online earlier that said there was no cell signal here. If you watch my campground reviews before, you know that I like to tell you a little bit about some of the stuff that there is to do in the surrounding area, stuff that's inexpensive or fairly low cost. To be honest, this time around, we didn't do much leaving the park. This is such a big campground that we spent most of our time in here. Aside from going to Gillies Marina and restaurant, Bear. We had some really great ice cream. And if we were back again, we would probably check out the restaurant as well. It looked like they had some pretty good food there. Within the campground itself, they do offer activities typically every weekend. Generally, those are geared towards kids. But also, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of really great hiking trails throughout the campground, a lot of great places to bike. And also, if you have a paddleboard or a canoe, this water body is just beautiful. So another thing you're going to want to do if you're visiting this campground is go check out the Discovery Center. Depending on which campground loop you're in, might be quite a distance. We ended up biking over from the Kilcorsi loop, and it took us probably a good 20 minutes to bike there. You'd always take a vehicle though. At the Discovery Center, they have lots of really cool nature exhibits. You can also see a few stuffed animals. Specifically, they do have a moose on display there, so you can see what a life-size moose would look like. So, would I recommend this park? Absolutely. If you're coming to Ontario, make sure that you spend some time in Killbear Provincial Park. And as usual, if there's any questions that I didn't answer in this video that you have about this campground, please feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to help you out.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button. Or even better, subscribe to our channel. It really does help us reach a wider audience. And don't forget to come back tomorrow to see where we go next.